Okay. So just a second, right? So either an externality is related to consumption of something or it is related to production of something, right? So the first case that we have discussed was positive consumption externality, where if someone gets COVID vaccination, that was positive consumption positive consumption externality, because getting COVID vaccination is not only beneficial for you, but for other people around you, right? Okay, now moving on, we'll talk about negative consumption externality, right? Now, what could be a good example of negative consumption externality? So this is the one that we are about to discuss next. Negative consumption externality. Think about this. Passive smoking. Passive smoking makes an ideal example of negative consumption externality. Why so? Because if there is someone who is smoking in the room and there are other people sitting in the room, right? They get to inhale that smoke and it is harmful for their health. It's harmful for them, right? So it is negative consumption externality, right? And look at the graph. Now, after seeing the first graph, you should find this one easier. Negative consumption externality, right? Okay, now think about this. We'll do the same procedure again, right? First of all, we will make the graph, label the axes, and then we'll move forward from there. Okay, have a look at this. So let me choose a different color here, right? So you'll make a normal graph first, right? So on the y-axis, as I always told you, you will have the price of the good slash the cost of the good, right? And on the x-axis, you will have the quantity or the output for that thing, right? So on the x-axis, you have output or quantity for that product. Okay. Now, what are the two things? What are the two graphs that you have to draw first, right? Well, just compare it with what we just did in the previous graph. Can you tell me, Preet, what are the first two graphs that you have to draw on the curve, on this diagram? What are the first two graphs that you have to draw on this diagram?
Sir, the marginal private cost.
Very
Sorry.
good. Yeah. That's correct.
Marginal private cost and marginal private benefit.
Excellent, Preet. Thank you. Right. So the first thing, because these two graphs show us that where the market will consume. Are you getting me? So by drawing the marginal private cost, which is always upward sloping, cost graphs are always upward sloping, and benefit graphs are always downward sloping. So this will show you where the market will consume, where the individuals will consume, right? So this is where the private cost is, this is where the private benefit is, where the two intersect. That is your point where the market will consume, and that is equals to QS. That is equals to, QM, where the market is consuming. That's equals to QM. Easy? Any confusion so far? Right? That is what we always do. Okay. Now, the second thing that you need to ask yourself is that what graph am I making? I'm making the graph for negative, so it's harmful effect, and consumption related. So whenever something is related to consumption, that affects your benefit, not affects your cost. I repeat, now this is a very important point. As I said, that sometimes graph can be very confusing. So you have to be, just a second. You have to find ways to understand that. Okay, think about this. So the consumption related externalities affect the benefit graphs. Consumption related externality will affect the benefit curves, and the production related externalities will affect the cost curves. Are you getting me? So consumption related will affect the benefit. You will see in a bit what I mean by that. Will affect the benefit curves, and the production related externalities will affect the cost curves. Okay. Now moving forward from here, have a look at this, right? So downward sloping was your marginal private benefit, upward sloping was your marginal private cost, where the two intersected. That is where the market is consuming. We labeled it as QM. Okay. Now, since someone smoking, as what example we're taking for negative consumption externality, passive smoking, right? So when someone is doing passive smoking, they are causing other people to inhale the harmful smoke, right? And obviously that negatively affects their health and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now think about this, how you need to understand this. The idea is that Private benefit is higher. Private benefit is higher. And since it is causing a harmful effect on the third party, your social benefit will overall be lower. Now let me show you like this. You will better understand. So I said social benefit, which is the total benefit to a society of any consumption, any production, right, or any activity, simply speaking, is made up of two components. Private benefit, how much is the benefit going, or how much is the benefit for the first party, and external benefit, what is the benefit for the third party, right? So when you add these two components up, you get social benefit. Now in this case, think about this. Why is smokers smoking? Because obviously they are addicted to it, or let's say they get some kind of buzz or whatever you want to call it, right? That's the reason why people smoke or something, right? Or consume anything, right? So they get the benefit of satisfaction, blah blah blah, whatever. But this is negative. External benefit is negative in this case. Why? Because by someone smoking, other people are negatively affected. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So let's say if 20 units of benefit the smoker gets from the relaxation or whatever, you can call that, from smoking a cigarette, but that imposes a negative cost on the other people. Other people around him gets to inhale that harmful smoke. So overall, your social benefit is less than the private benefit. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So social benefit would be less than private benefit. Why? Because this consumption of a product is causing a harmful effect on the third party. It's causing a harmful effect on the third party. Therefore, your social benefit line would be to the left of your private benefit line. Your social benefit line would be to the left of your private benefit line. Preet, did you get me? Right? Let's compare this with the other graph that we just looked at. In the case of positive consumption externality, so this is positive, let's say positive externality, right? And this is negative externality. Positive was to the right because obviously you are imposing a positive effect on the third party by getting yourself vaccinated. Whereas in the case of negative externality, it is to the left. Why is that to the left? Because it is causing a harmful effect on the third party. It's causing a harmful effect on the third party. Any confusion so far? Is making sense, right? So the social benefit in this case, where it's negative consumption externality, would be to the left of it. It would be to the left of it, right? Okay. Now, from society's point of view, where should you have, what output levels should have consumed?
So this MSB.
MSB, exactly, where this MSB is cutting with this time, right? And why I said that private cost and social cost are equal, because obviously production of cigarettes, we are assuming that production of cigarettes doesn't cause any externality, right? So for now we are assuming that production doesn't cause any externality. It's only the consumption that is harmful for the society, right? So where the social benefit is equals to social cost, that is where the society should consume, and that makes it this level, right? That makes it this level. Now my simple question to you is whether the society is over consuming cigarettes or under consuming cigarettes. Whether the society it's over consuming, right? It's over consuming, right? So you have to bring down consumption from QM to QS. You have to bring down consumption from QM to QS. Now what will the government do?
Increase taxes.
Increase taxes, either to create awareness that will cause automatically leftward shift in this, or to impose taxes, which we see happens in every country. Why? Because government know it's a harmful product which should be discouraged, right? So when that happens, your cost increases, your cost of consuming cigarettes increases, right? Because now cigarettes are more expensive than before. Your supply shifts to the left like this, right? Your supply curve shifts to the left, right? Now the new supply curve is intersecting with your marginal private benefit at this point. So automatically your consumption comes down from QM to QS. Your consumption comes down from QM to QS, right? So again, there are two solutions for that. Either the government should create awareness, which you see happening everywhere, right? You cannot advertise cigarettes to younger people. You cannot smoke until 15, I don't know, 18, 20 years of age, depending upon what country we're talking about. But everywhere there is something similar. There are some similar laws. And second possible solution for this is to impose taxes to make that good more expensive and discourage people from using it. Impose taxes, which obviously shifts your supply curve to the left, like this we have shown. So this is your new supply curve. This is where the private benefit is, and automatically your consumption drops down from QM to QS, like this. Easy, easy, breathe, right? So we have talked about, we'll quickly do a recap and then we'll stop here for today and then we'll continue from here in tomorrow's class. As I said, these graphs can be a little confusing because there are so many things that are quite interlinked. And
Sir, I have one doubt.
yeah, sure, go on.
Sir, like in this, you shifted the like the MPB shifted to MSB, and
Hmm.
like if government impose taxes, then the supply will shift to the left.
The supply will
But
shift.
like sir, then the cost should increase, I think. But
No,
like in according to this graph, the costs have decreased.
no. Okay, I get your question. No. Cost have increased. Let me show you. Now that's a very good question that I've asked, and I'm glad you have asked this question. Think about this. Preet, when the cost of production increases, just remember what we did in the AS. If this was the original supply curve, now look at me carefully, right? So if this is your supply curve initially, right? And where do we have the price? I'm just making a simple supply curve. So quantity supply is on the x-axis, you have price on the y-axis. When the cost of production used to increase, where did your supply curve used to shift? Upwards. Now, what is this upward shift showing? Let me explain you, right? Or let's erase this and let's slide cost, because in our case, it's the cost on the y-axis. It's cost on the y-axis, yes or no? Right? Have a look at this, please. Think about this. If I choose any random quantity now, let's choose this quantity, Q1. How much is the cost at this case? How much was the cost of this at this graph S1? That was, let's say, $10 or $20, whatever, right? And then you can see that for S2, the cost is higher. It is moving upwards on the y-axis. And as you move upwards on the y-axis, the cost is increasing because the graph is going over here. That's the arrow, right? Upward, right? So in this case, the cost will be more, $15. Similarly, if I choose any other random quantity over here, now, instead of Q1, let's say the company wants to produce Q2. So if it's operating on this supply curve, S1 supply curve, its cost of production would be somewhere over here. Let's say $16. But for S2, for the same quantity, per unit good is costing you how much? $1.70. How much is that costing? So upward is an increase in cost. So this upwards, when it moves to the left, that's upwards. That's why when taxes are imposed, it shifts upwards. And when there is provision of subsidy, when the government provides subsidies, that's a rightward shift. Why? That's a rightward shift because the cost is decreasing. Yes or no? The more down you move on the y-axis, just think about this. This is moving down on the y-axis, isn't it? Let me draw a graph like, arrow like this. That will help you better understand. An arrow like this and an arrow like this, right? So when you move from S1, let me get rid of this extra stuff over here, right? When you move from S1 to S2, breathe, you are moving up on the y-axis. And what is up on the y-axis? Higher cost, because cost is going, as I just explained you, cost is increasing this way. So the graph starts from 0 and then it goes upwards, and so on, right? Are you getting me? And on the other hand, when your graph shifts to the right, when it shifts to the right, like this, right? When it shifts to the right, like this, S3, right? Now here you're moving down on the y-axis. So therefore, when subsidies are provided, so if you're originally at S1, when subsidy is provided, where will the supply curve shift? It will shift from S1 to S3, and when the government imposed, because it's going down on the y-axis, which means cost is decreasing, and when taxes are imposed, it moves from S1 to S2. This means the cost have increased, and that's why the supply curve is shifting upwards. So that's what confuses you. I do get it, because for demand curve, it's the other way, right? Does it make sense? Is this still confusing?
No, sir, it's clear.
Right? So always remember, when you move from supply upwards, you're moving up on the y-axis. That is the only thing that you have to compare, because cost is on the y-axis, right? So it means you're imposing taxes, cost is increasing, and when the supply curve moves to right, shifts to the right, like from S1 to S3, cost is decreasing, and that is what happens when the government provides subsidy. Right. So what I'll do tomorrow, Preet, is that at the start of the class, I'll ask you to recap with me. In fact, to tell me of what we did in today's class. Right. We will also have the lecture available, and I think you also make the notes while I'm teaching. Right. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Very good. That's a very good thing to do. Right. So tomorrow I'll make you a quick recap for the things that we've done, and then we'll talk about the other two cases of externalities, production related.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow then. We will have a class around
Okay.
same time. Okay. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.